Getting beat up by 9 guys at Syracuse, to me, there's not a whole lot of shame.
Welcome to the Heel to the Face podcast.
And this right here,
with your hosts, Jared Wicks, Brandon Icebreaker Clements, and Paul Boy Green Esden.
It doesn't matter what your name is. And that's the bottom line. Cause Stone Cold Texas. Best there is, the best there was, or the best there ever will be.
Brett screwed Brett. Because it's what's best for business.
To be the man, you gotta beat the man. The champ is here. Oh yeah. New Day Rock. And if you're not down with that, we got 2 words for ya.
Tweet us using the handle @HeelToTheFace.
Woo! Let's get ready to suck it.
The bell is rung, so let's step in the ring with your hosts, Paul, Brandon, and Jared.
I might as well tag me up with my buddies from Syracuse.
Heel to the Face podcast is on the air for another week. We are just a few days away from Money in the Bank on the WWE Network. We're joined as always on Twitter with Brandon the Icebreaker Clements. You can find him on Twitter at Icebreaker21. Myself, Jared, just Jared Wicks, and most importantly, well, most likely if you're watching us, you're listening to us, you found us through Twitter at Heel to the Face. That's where you'll find our tweets of the week, our Twitter questions of the week, and everything you need to know as we are coming just a few days away from Money in the Bank on pay-per-view this Sunday.
It's weird.
Finally. This feels like WrestleMania in the sense that we've been building up for. I feel this is longer because the time from the last WWE pay-per-view, I think was a SmackDown event, to WrestleMania wasn't 6 weeks, wasn't this long. This has been a break.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like it's been like 3 months, but I know it's only been, 6 weeks?
It's been 6 weeks. I went to the last WWE pay-per-view, which luckily I didn't realize I was doing this, but a lot of videos have kind of surfaced as of late on YouTube to kind of bring up, and I think it's because of this reason. So there's been a lot of new videos that have just said, I think now's a good time to catalog the top 10 worst WWE pay-per-views of all time. And I think the reason they did that was so that they could throw Backlash into that top 10. As I'll admit, it was not really the most fun night I've ever had at a wrestling pay-per-view, but that was the last time WWE was on pay-per-view per se.
Let me ask you this. Right now, as it stands, with all the pay-per-views we have, what do you think is the worst pay-per-view? Do you think Backlash is definitely the worst, or do you think there's other ones on there?
Are you looking at it from the worst as in a scheduled perspective, or after the event has taken place, like that was bad?
That I would say, because I would say after the event, if it was that, like the card itself, when you go to a
Backlash
pay-per-view,
and Money in the Bank, they are quite polar opposites, because if you remember, Backlash took place 6 days after, I think it was 7 days, 7 days after a pay-per-view, a very big pay-per-view in the Greatest Royal Rumble, and now we have 6 weeks before Money in the Bank.
I'm not going to lie, I was a little higher on Backlash than I thought. Going back to it, I'm like, man, it wasn't that great of a card, to be honest with you. I'm looking forward to Money in the Bank, though. This is going to be fun.
And you can definitely tell, kind of going back in time, that the Greatest Royal Rumble was kind of sprung because they knew they were going to do the joint pay-per-views. At the time, there was a pay-per-view on May the 6th. That was Backlash. There was a pay-per-view on May the 27th, which was supposed to be a SmackDown-only event that was in Baltimore called Payback. And I think it was maybe like a month before WrestleMania, they officially decided they were going to come together, and then they canceled Payback. I think they ended up turning that into a SmackDown or something event, but they canceled Payback and gave people their money back if they already bought tickets for Payback. That's how you can tell the Greatest Royal Rumble sprung, because if they knew even a month maybe beforehand, when they knew the pay-per-views were going to be dual branded, if they knew as soon as that there was going to be the Greatest Royal Rumble, then I think Backlash should have been the payper-view that was canceled, and then Payback, which was later in the month, should have been the pay-per-view. So it should have been Greatest Royal Rumble, 4 weeks, Backlash or Payback, Backlash, whatever, and then 4 weeks and Money in the Bank, instead of this, pay-per-view within 2 weeks and then this long space.
Now, speaking of, obviously, Money in the Bank is coming up this weekend. What did you make of the go home? We'll start with Raw. What did you make of the go home Raw before the pay-per-view?
Well, let's say there was some highlight. It wasn't so much I enjoyed anything in the go home segments. It was a decent show. I like what they're doing with Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre. That is continuing to build.
Let me ask you this. Excuse me. Do you like the fact that they're facing Breezango?
This is what they're doing with the B team. This is what they're doing with them. They're putting them against hired jobbers, I guess is the best way to put it.
To me, I'll say it like this. The only match to me that I even cared about was the Fatal 4-Way at the end of the night. That was a good match. It showed, the competitors.
Yeah,
they all went after Braun Strowman. He looked
it gave
good.
away a lot before the pay-per-view with the big spot from Kevin Owens. Kind of like
the Money in the Bank better step it up then, because that match was fantastic. That was a great match. Plus it showed how great Braun Strowman really is. Like, Kevin Owens does this splash onto the announce table, and then Braun still ends up winning the match. You know what I mean? Like, Braun, we'll get to our picks later, but man, he's tough to pick against right now. He is on fire.
I was disappointed that we didn't see Sami Zayn go through the obstacle course. I was hoping for that.
Yeah, I knew that wasn't going to happen. I knew before.
See, I thought Sami Zayn would go first, and then Bobby Lashley would go second, and then he would do what he did. I didn't think he just wasn't going to go at all.
I'll tell you this right now. I knew when that segment happened. I knew it was going to be. It was a setup. Sami Zayn, that's all he's doing right now. He set Bobby Lashley up. So Bobby's like, but I'll do the obstacle course, which he, by the way, he kicked ass at it, by the way, and.
Yeah, well, I was even looking. No offense to anybody in the Marines or anything like that, but I was looking at it when Sami Zayn was saying the usual time it takes somebody to do this, a Green Beret Marine, is 2 minutes, and I'm sitting there thinking there's like 5 things, like 2 minutes.
They could do that quicker.
Yeah, and he did. He showed. He did it in like 44 seconds.
Yeah, I was gonna say he did it way under a minute. It wasn't like it was 58 seconds. He did it in like 45 seconds. That was. Yeah. I'm like,
who does it in 2 minutes? Maybe I could probably do it in 2 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, I could probably do it 2 minutes, 2:30 maybe. Yeah. Us average guys,
Yeah. The only difficult thing that I probably would have any hard time doing is getting over that wall. Everything else is just like I could take my time and,
See,
he gave me 2 minutes.
The one thing that I would have trouble with is probably the rope.
See, now with the rope, and correct me if I'm wrong, but why was the rope knotted up like he was in second grade?
I don't know why, to be honest with you. Because when I was in elementary school, the rope didn't have knots.
Like because to climb the rope, that's kind of the thing. It's like training wheels on the rope.
Exactly. To me, it was Bobby could have done that with one arm.
Yeah.
He literally, it was funny because the commentators are like, I think Cole was like, yeah, he's not even using his legs. Like, he doesn't have to. He's strong. His upper body's ridiculously strong, so he doesn't need to. Like the rest of us, I wouldn't have. I think I would have a hard time with it because I'm not a big fan of heights. I know it wasn't that high up, but heights are kind of I'm not good with heights, so it might have made me kind of slide down. Because when I was younger, I went down. I had the rope burn. I got up there and I went, because they teach you how to come down. Yeah, do you think I listened? No.
Now, what was with? Now, is this a real thing? Jonathan Coachman, when Seth Rollins destroyed the Qatar by Elias, that was given to him by John Mayer. Seth Rollins was like, or Jonathan Coachman made a comment about John Mayer and being in hip hop, and Corey Graves was like, "Are you no?"
Wait, what?
He's not a hip hop artist, you idiot. I think he said.
Wait, Coach. Here's some.
Is this on purpose? And somebody tweeted at him, and they're like, "Dude, what are you doing?" And then he's like, "Hey, you caught it. You watched. I accomplished what I was trying to do."
I don't think he was. I think that was just his way, like that little Twitter engagement, their interaction. I think that was his way to cover his ass. Because
I feel like
he's
done that a few times since then. I feel this is like a Jonathan Coachman thing where he's kind of like trying to take over Booker T's role. Because Corey Graves has been like, "No, you idiot. No, you're wrong." Like, calling out a few things that are like, what?
No offense to Booker T because he's a Hall of Famer, but on the commentary side, there's a lot left to be desired for that. I'm just saying he was not good. To me, Coach is Coach, man. He's been on ESPN, well traveled. He doesn't need to be. Not to call Booker dumb, but he doesn't need to dumb himself down to make him fill in the role of Booker T. Let Jonathan do what Jonathan does. Like he's a tremendous asset, a great broadcaster. And I'm telling you right now, he's had his ESPN run. He was on SportsCenter. He was a host of SportsCenter, and you can't dumb him down. He was really good. I think I don't know the specifics, but I think Coach left ESPN. I think it was a contract dispute or like a creative dispute. It wasn't anything.
I think it was kind of like a creative dispute.
Because it's not lack of talent. Because Coach is one of the more he's one of the most accomplished broadcasters out there right now.
So let's get off of Raw and SmackDown for just a few minutes, and I want to divulge into what kind of a lot of people have been saying this on Twitter, and I want to know, what do you make of this? Good, bad? We can kind of do this in a social media segment, but it has to do with WWE this week. We've seen Something to Wrestle With, which, to be honest with you, is my new favorite show. and there's really nothing visually to see. You can turn it on and walk around because it's a podcast. With Bruce Pritchard, something else to wrestle with, or whatever it's called. But this week, I haven't seen it yet, but they already said last week, and they've already promoted it, and it's already up on the WWE Network, was AJ Styles' TNA run. And Bruce Pritchard spent some time in TNA and worked in TNA in the past, as well as WWE.com showing a Deep South Wrestling promotion promo from a while ago of Kenny Omega on one of their, like, hey, look what we found in the vault. And they showed a Kenny Omega promo, like, with no real WWE, it's not like they're showing off Samoa Joe and happen to be against Kenny Omega. Like, it was just like, look what we found in the vault, and it was Kenny Omega cutting a promo on another unknown guy back in Deep South Wrestling days. And they showed that, so we got AJ Styles with TNA. Like, what do you make of WWE starting to acknowledge some of this stuff, kind of going out there, these people that don't work for the company?
I don't mind it because, I think it's WWE's way of saying, we're not the only one out there. Yes, we are, we're the king of sports entertainment, but I think it's kind of like an ode, like kind of a nod to the, to these other great talents. Kenny Omega, I think right now, we can agree, I think he's the best commodity in wrestling right now that's not in WWE. Do we agree on that? I'm not a Japan wrestling guy, but he's good. He's really good. I've watched some of his matches, going back to
he's the most
tape.
valuable wrestler right now, not in WWE.
And to me, I think when his contract's up, which I think is about a year or so from now, a year or two, I think he's coming to WWE.
Now, we'll discuss this as it refers to wrestling a little bit later in the show. But did you have a chance to see CM Punk on Saturday night?
I did
get
not.
Absolutely decimated. Now, I watched this fight. I was very excited. And unfortunately, the problem with this fight was that
CM Punk was fighting in it.
There's the saying, if you give someone enough rope, they'll hang themselves with it. So before, CM Punk left a lot to the imagination. He got knocked out right away by somebody who was not exactly veteran, but more importantly, a UFC mainstay in Mickey Gall. He got knocked out by somebody who was much better than him immediately. He wasn't in the game too long. He didn't have a lot of time to train. This time, he had all the time in the world to train. This time, he faced somebody who was 0-1 as the lowest bottom level as he was. And the fight went 3 full rounds. That means there was no knockouts. There was no technicalities. Nobody called it. They gave him 3 minutes. They gave him 15 minutes in there because it was 3 5-minute rounds. Or it might have been, because it wasn't a title fight, 3 3-minute rounds. So it was 9 minutes, regardless. 3 full rounds. Went the distance, had all the time in the world. And I'm not a big UFC guy when it comes to the technicality of it. But even I could see, and if you go back, and I know you're not a huge UFC guy, but go back and watch this.
Whoa. No, okay. I am, but I'm not. I'm a guy. I don't watch UFC like every week. I know they have like.
Well, I'm probably of the equal. Like I watch. I have intrigue here and there.
I watch. I mean, I for a time when there was like when Conor McGregor's going. There's a few other guys. Ronda Rousey. I was in it hardcore. Like I'd watch it every week. But lately, to me,
I will never watch it every week. I'll admit that right now. Because, I mean, what is there to watch? Ultimate Fighter? I'm not really into that stuff. I'm really just into the pay-per-views, the big fights, maybe even those fight nights if there's a decent...
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing.
I think George St. Pierre fought on the free fight night one time when he came back or something.
To me, like, I watch him. I'm definitely in the middle. I'm not a diehard fan like our boy Paul. But I'm not on the on your end where you watch it like here and there. I'm kind of in the middle, I guess. Like I'll watch it. Like if there's a basketball game on or some other sport, I'm watching that before UFC. Unless like GSP's fighting or some big name like
and I'm in the same way. If it, like this was CM Punk was fighting, Holly Holm was fighting, so I was interested in that. I actually turned it off before the main event because of the fact that I wasn't really interested in the main event. I was interested in, I knew Holly Holm, I knew CM Punk, I knew Alistair Overeem, who was on the pre-show. So I watched some of those matches. But from somebody who doesn't watch too much UFC, you can just watch somebody and it'd be like if I was in baseball and I struck out. Yes, I'm going to strike out. But the thing that people would notice is that it doesn't even look like I belong. Like, obviously, major league players strike out. But it would look not like a major league strikeout. It would look like my arm mechanics are wrong, my swing is wrong, my feet is... That's how CM Punk looked. It didn't look like he lost the fight to a better person. It looked like he didn't know how to fight. It looked like if this was his sparring partner, that he was just, the way he put his arms around him, the way that he fell down, the way that he just threw punches wrong.
He looked out of his element.
He looked like somebody who, he made UFC look better because how he looked shows that these people are trained. Like boxing and you know, like pitchers, for example, they're not just throwing the ball. It's a full arm mechanic. This guy looked like he was just on the mound, like throwing a ball. This guy looked like he was in the octagon and just he didn't train. He didn't, you know. You wonder what they do for months and months and months training for a fight. Like everyone knows how to fight, right? You know, you just got to be bigger and stronger. CM Punk proved it's not about being bigger and stronger.
No, it's technical.
He has no idea what he's doing in there. He will never be in the octagon again. And he showed not just in UFC that I don't think he should be in any MMA. I don't want to see him in any.
Thank you.
He's done.
Thank you.
He
I
looked
said that last
awful.
week.
Joe Rogan, who is the voice of UFC, you know, he's got to be, you know, promoted to an extent. He's got to, you know, during the show, he hyped it up as best he could. But after the show, he even said personally on his podcast, this guy is, I mean, nothing. Nobody. This guy, you know, he had a good name, but my God, was he out of his element.
Awful. He's awful. Thank you. And thank you for saying that, by the way, because to me, CM Punk should stay way far away from the MMA.
Now, see, and you said I didn't say this before because I saw him get knocked out within training after, you know, 6 months, you know. Give him some time. Give him years to train. Give him, you know, that kind of deal. They gave him that kind of deal, and it was like,
he's just not.
Wow.
He doesn't. You either have it or you don't, and he doesn't. He doesn't. Yeah. He needs to. To me, he needs to, you know, put his tail between his freaking legs, and he needs to, you know, smooch up to Vince and come back to WWE. That's the end of it. He's a great sports entertainer. He is not a good fighter. He needs to go back to WWE. Or hell, if he goes, maybe. I mean, New Japan's been pulling stuff out. Ring of Honor, maybe they pull something. Maybe he goes somewhere else. But he needs to go back to wrestling. Simple as that.
Well, the question about that though that lies is, it's not if wrestling will want him back. It's if he wants to go back to wrestling. And he made a lot of things clear that he may not be succeeding in UFC. But the wrestling door is not plan B exactly from what he has spoken.
I think
leading up to his fight at UFC 225.
I think when push comes to shove, he's coming back.
Well, we will discuss more about his return to wrestling because without a doubt, one thing is for sure. He is done in mixed martial arts. In fact, I would even say this much is for sure.
He should have never done it.
The way that he was fighting makes me feel that he shouldn't even be considered for a commentating position in mixed martial arts.
Because he has no idea what he's doing.
That's one thing. Like, I'm like, okay, well, he can't fight, but maybe he can talk about it. When I looked at him fighting, I was like, I don't think he can talk about it.
No, here's
it was bad.
I mean, Joe Rogan's, he commentates on it, but he knows what he's talking about. Like,
and like he said, CM Punk
he's got a background. He's got a background in MMA. Joe Rogan does. He knows how to. He knows the technicality behind it.
I might have rather seen CM Punk commentate before he ever got in the ring because seeing him in the ring is like, who are you to ever say anything about anybody? After I saw what you did.
Honestly, if CM Punk came up to some regular Joe Schmo, he'd probably get whooped. Don't you think? See, I don't think he can't fight. He can't fight.
At least not from a technical perspective. At least I saw UFC.
I mean, the thing in the fight game. And watching boxing growing up, all you need is a puncher's chance because all you got to do is hit somebody the right way. Doesn't matter if they're the better boxer. If you hit them right once, all it takes is one punch. You knock them out, you win. CM Punk, he would need a whole hell of a lot of luck because he can't fight. He is awful, absolutely awful. He needs to go back to wrestling.
And the fact that it went as far as it did was actually against Dana White's wishes because, I believe Mark Jackson, Mike the Truth Jackson, I think it was Mike Jackson, fought him on Saturday night. And Dana White was not happy with his performance, so much saying that, listen, you could have knocked this guy out. And you showboated thinking, hey, CM Punk's a big name. And I have time on pay-per-view, so I'm never on pay-per-view, and I'm never going to fight anybody of this name ever again. So Dana White was not happy that he felt that he actually lasted as long as he did because he was pretty much milking it, showboating. That's how bad CM Punk was. That this was like that old Simpson episode where Homer took on Drederick Tatum, and Drederick was like sitting there like just talking to like celebrities at the ringside, kind of drag on the fight. I mean, that's what this was. He just could have just knocked him out at any time. I mean, that's how bad of a fight this was. Dana White's like, he definitely showboated because he should have been knocked out.
Well, here's
here's
my thing. Like, I mean, I get that. I get the competitor against CM Punk. I get that he's not on pay-per-view much, but you don't get paid by the hour. You get paid by the fight. So just knock him the hell out and get the hell out of the ring.
I think he wanted to make a name for himself because, like he even said...
How do you make a name for yourself, though, if you go the distance with a guy like CM Punk? That makes you look like crap. To me, if you want to make a name for yourself and you know CM Punk can't fight, you knock him out within the first minute of the fight.
That either way, that's how bad CM Punk was. The fact that his opponent who beat him didn't beat him good enough, as it was obvious to see to Dana White. So his days in the UFC are done as well. And according to him, he said he's 0-2 in my eyes. That's what he said, because what he showed out here was nothing from a winner. So that's how bad CM Punk is, that the winner was still, in Dana White's eyes, considered a loser. So that's going to do it for our first segment. We're not done talking CM Punk.
You thought we were for a second.
I muted us for a second. Sorry about that. We're not done talking CM Punk. We're going to talk CM Punk in our social media segments of the week.
Yes.
We'll talk more UFC, and we will have our Money in the Bank breakdown. If you're watching us on YouTube, those are separate videos, Money in the Bank predictions, and our social media segment of the week. So subscribe to us on YouTube at Heel to the Face.